All right, I want to talk about power, and I want to talk about power choices. I want to talk about the choices, and I want you to keep this in mind. I want you to keep this in mind. This, in fact, my fantasy, honestly, is to just draw on walls. And this, so I'll do it this. But I want you to really get that power is your currency. It is your currency. Secondly, that every single negotiation, everything, what you had for lunch, that the way you shopped for lunch was, would this empower me or not? Even if you said, you thought in terms of, would this enhance my health or not? Should I eat this or not? Is a power question. Everything needs to be measured in power now for these reasons. One, life is about power. And what the universe, the lesson in front of us now, is to get that we are the agents of creation. Period. That this thought form that suddenly dropped into our collective in the 60s, from where? From where did it come? This thought form that we create our own reality came out of nowhere. And yet it hooked down like a forest fire. And we took it at the most primal level to think it meant that we could do whatever we wanted. We took it like children. Well, I can do it. I create my reality. I can go here. I can do whatever I want. But as it's maturing, we are at the precipice of getting that it's a profoundly mystical truth. It's not permission to go on a walkabout whenever you want, or to leave marriages, or to go and run up bills, or buy whatever you want, or tell yourself, I get to do this because I deserve it because I'm unhappy. The way we've been losing, because that just is indulgence of self-pity. Co-creation of reality is a profound, profound trust. It means that your soul is so powerful that every choice you make has a profound consequence. And this is what Teresa of Avila meant when she said, look for God in the small details. There isn't one thing you do, not one thing you think, that isn't an action of consequence, which also means, if you get that the tiniest offering made to you is actually a huge thing in disguise. If you get that there's no such thing as small power, then you get that absolutely everything, every idea offered to you has the potential to change your life in the world. You stop measuring things by the size of your bank account or by the size of whether people will notice you. You stop it. Or whether people will applaud you. You cease measuring things by the ego. You develop the scale of co-creation instead of the scale of what will this give me? What will I gain by this? What if I fail? What if this idea isn't big enough or fancy enough or impressive enough? You stop looking at it through ordinary eyes, but you start looking at it through the eyes of a seed of creation can be a great forest. Heaven never gives you a forest. It gives you an acorn. You're too small to hold a forest. So I urge you to start thinking in the invisible world now. You are a creature of energy, not matter. Physical matter, like an illness. By the time you came to me as a medical intuitive, by the time your illness was physical, there was nothing I could do for you. And quite frankly, that's true of physicians. By the time you're sick, it's history. By the time anything has manifested, it's too late 90% of the time. By the time your problems have manifested in the physical world, you should have known better. You had so many signals in from the energy world. You had hints at the emotional level, hints at the psychic level, hints at the intuitive level, hints at the energetic level, and you did nothing about it. By the time something hits the physical level, it's over. The fact that you don't want to act on energy has to change. Do you understand me? It has to change. You have to get to the place in your maturity and your courage and your self-esteem where you read energy and you get, I need to make a choice to make a difference now before it manifests in the physical. Like changing a recipe. By the time the recipe is cooked, you can't do anything about it. You have to change it while you can do something with the ingredients. When I was doing a lot of readings with my partner, Norm Sheely, my medical partner, I was able to say to him, this person will have this disease if they do not do this. I could tell where I am most useful is not in telling you what you have. Any doctor can do that. Where I am most useful is when you are in that stage of an illness forming, where you are losing your power. And when you're losing your power, something's forming. And the symptomology, 80% of illnesses have the same symptoms 80% of the time until the last 20% of the journey. And that's when the specific illness develops. So all illnesses, during the stage of developing, every illness, you will get tired. Your immune system will start to weakening. You'll start feeling irritated. You might get aches and pains. That fits how many illnesses before the illness gets specific. But it's during that stage that if I do a reading on you, I can start locating where in you you're losing your power, and that's when I'm good. But your own intuitive system will tell you that. You don't need me. Your own system starts going deet, 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 and tells you where you are making choices, where you are losing power. Because you have the law of balance in you. You operate on the law of balance. You know when you're making choices that are throwing you off balance. And your system has an automatic system that will say, you're losing too much power here. You're losing too much power there. And your system will alert you. And I wish the word depression had never been created. Because it is so unhelpful to say, well, I'm depressed, as if that in itself is the disease. Like that's the end of the line. Well, I know I'm just depressed and now I don't have to do anything. I have to drug myself because I'm depressed. When in fact, that's the beginning of the journey. You're losing power because, and you don't go backwards. You're not back there. You're right here. And you're making choices every day that are causing you to lose power. So you have to kind of check this out here. Like putting in your microphone wrong. This thing's driving me nuts here. But if you don't get that you are someone who is highly sensitive and is now where every choice you make matters, you're not going to pay attention to any choice you make at all. And you're not going to get that this choice that I just made is costing me my energy. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that company with this person is draining me. You may use that word, but you don't get that that's actually what's happening. That you actually can't be around that. That you actually can't eat certain foods. That's actually contributing to what you call depression. That you actually can't be around certain types of crowds or even listen to certain type of music because it's vibrationally disharmonious. One of the reasons there's so much depression these days is because people don't get, they cannot be exposed to electronics that much. But they are addicted. They are frigging addicted to it and they won't break it off. They won't break it off. And so there you have it. They have this cycle of electronic contact with their neurology and they can't stop. And it's the worst thing in the world for their neurology, and it's literally an electronic buzz. So they medicate, and they just keep going down, 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 when in fact, it can be remedied. Stop with the computer stuff. But they don't. And there you have choice and consequence. Now, you need to understand the choices that really matter and how you make them. And you need to pay attention. What choices do you make? Now, during a break, someone asked me about a choice. What was that choice about? Vengeance, right? Now, how did you ask that? Because this is an important choice. Because one of the reasons, the choice not to heal, is where I'd like to begin and enter into this. And how many of you have consistently, and I think every human being makes a choice somehow to sabotage their health. Agreed? So, where are you making that choice to sabotage your well-being? And that's something you need to look at. Because I believe that we have a fear of being a whole person. We don't want to, and that is something we need to look at. That while we are at workshops to become a whole person, we don't want to accomplish that. It's like going to school and not wanting to graduate. But here's our dilemma. Part of our suffering is that we don't want to become what we know we should want to become, and yet we keep seeking it out. Do you understand? We know that we have somehow or other become intuitive, yet we don't want it, and yet we do. And what we want is we want to be able to turn it on occasionally. And we want it to be very clear when we're making certain decisions. Otherwise, we want to turn it off and keep it off so that we can go about the task of being children. And saying, I just want to do what I want to do here. And I don't want to be held accountable for any of these things. I would like to claim that I didn't know better. And when I'm caught with my intuitive finger in the cookie jar, my best thing is to pull out a wound and say, it must have been because I had a bad childhood. And I'm telling you, this kind of behavior has to stop. We know better. And we're at this crossroads where we've got to get our act together and heal this planet together. We got to get our act together. You have to get your act together. We can't go on saying that we are in a planet where we can heal and we can be healthy, but in fact we're making all the choices to go in the opposite direction. That's got to stop, because we're really going under. And it's not a political choice either. We're having bad politicians because we know better. We're all in this together, and this is our part.